For today's activity, we are going to be using contour line and cross contour line. You will need one of your printed photos, and then you will also receive a piece of tracing paper from Miss Hadley. Okay? Now, when we talked about our contour lines in class, a contour line is simply the outline of every single feature on your face. Now, we know, just because of our experience in touching our cheeks and our nose, that these are three-dimensional. They are not just flat shapes on our face. In fact, our little cheeks can also be seen as spheres. Our eyes can be seen as ovals. Our nose can be split up into sphere 1, sphere 2, and sphere 3. Our face is made up of a variety of shapes. All of these flat two-dimensional shapes, though, do have form. Now, in order for us to start laying down the form and starting to map out the direction in which we plan to shade in, we need to know the contour or the cross contour lines of our entire face. So with your photo underneath, you'll take your tracing paper. Okay, it's going to look a little bit hazy. That's what we want. You may even consider taping your papers down to the table so it doesn't slip and slide everywhere. Okay? With just your pencil, you are going to start mapping out the contours. As with every activity, this is quiet. If you are talking and distracted, you are not producing your best work. While you are doing this, you should be drawing very, very slowly. And please draw very gently on our tracing paper. This stuff, it tears pretty easily. And I do not want to have to go out and buy another pack of this tracing paper simply because we weren't working slow enough or we were pressing a little bit too hard with our pencil. So when it comes to hair, don't worry about all these tiny little strands. Just get the main shapes in that you see. So I'm making sure I get every single line that makes up my face. So I'm slowly getting my contours put in. When doing a contour drawing, you are welcome to look at your photo, your Chromebook or an iPad, whatever your photo is on. This is about the only time that I will allow you to trace something, only because we are still practicing the whole cross contour lines, especially when it comes to our face. Okay, as I start to finish up my facial features, I'm making sure not to move my paper. When you do your contour lines, you are welcome to get as detailed as you want to get. Just know that whatever types of detail you include, you'll have to do the contours for, or the cross contours, I'm sorry. So for your eyebrows, you're just getting the shape. Now, when it comes to deciding what photo you want to use for our cross contour line practice here, I recommend doing something that's super close up, like my photo. That way it's easier for you to start depicting some of the details that make your face. And then over time, we will start dealing with some of those photos where you may be further back or further away from the lens. Okay, I'm going to work my way down and make just the shapes of my hair. Not really paying attention too much to every tiny detail. Now I'm kind of breezing through this quickly because I want to make sure that you have enough time to be working on your project or your assignment. When you do your contour line, your outline of your entire face, you need to be going really, really slow. Oh, I moved it. There we go. There. If you go too fast, you might make the mistake that I just made and accidentally move your piece. Okay? So this is what your contour should look like. It's going to look a little bit creepy, okay? Now the reason it's so creepy is simply because we don't have any value shaping our cheeks, and so we look like a flat two-dimensional character on a cartoon. What we are going to learn how to do is start applying our values, so working from light to dark to help give these areas form. So we are going to take our contour and apply cross contour lines to help us start to see the form, the shape of our cheeks, the shape of our noses, the roundness of our lips, the way that underneath our lip it curves in before our chin pops out. Okay? So once you get to this point, you are going to line up your portrait and your contour drawing. And you are going to study very closely. I'll just use this cheek of mine as an example. Okay? My shading or my value on my cheek, the shaded area, is going in this direction, which means my contour line over here must go in that same direction. Okay? So my line starts about here, and it goes all the way to the top of my smile line, which means I'm going to choose very carefully where I'm going to start my cross contour lines. I'm going to very carefully lay these in. Okay? So there's 1, 2, 3, Since there's a little bit more value along the side of my face, I'm going to just twist my paper. I'm going to add contour lines, and then I'm going to stop where my highlight begins. So this area, the ball of my cheek, is going to remain white. So I'm going to use my cross contour lines to show where the shadows are. And then I'm going to leave the space where my cheek is, or the ball of my cheek. I'm going to also leave that white. So when we put these side by side, I'm starting to see a little bit more form, okay? But in order to make this cheek really stand out as if it's like a sphere on the side of my face, I also need to show that my nose is higher than like this indent of my eye, okay? So to do that, I'm gonna go over to my nose area, and I'm going to study this value along here. Now if I do my cross contour lines up, and then another one going down, it is going to make my nose look extremely long like Squidward, okay? Our noses are actually more wide than they are long. So when I see this value, I see lines that go this way. Okay, so those lines I am going to go ahead and place carefully into my drawing. So I'm going back here. You are welcome to make some small marks that you can erase easily on your portrait. So now up here it's going to be darkest. Here it's lightest, so I'm going to lighten up on the pressure with my pencil. And then this part of my nose here starts to round out to be the ball of my nose, okay? So at this point, I'm going to start straightening out these lines. I'm going to start making my lines look more like this. Okay, so now I'm starting to map out that my face is more three-dimensional than it is flat. This is showing me that there is more value. So along this line, if it's extremely dark, for example, where my hair is right here, I may press down a little bit darker and darken the ends of these lines. That way when I go to apply my value, I know where the darkest area is, okay? So in order to make your cross contour lines correct, you're going to study every single tiny area of your face. So we looked at my cheek, and I first checked the shape of this value here. I'm noticing this curve, which is helping me see that the lines I should use to demonstrate the angle of my cheeks here should match this curve, okay? When we did my nose, we checked out this value along here. We know that our nose stands out from our face. It's 3D, it pops off of our face, not laying flat on our face. And so a good line to use to show that would be lines such as these. Okay. Now if you draw way too dark and you do not lighten up toward where your highlights are, then you are going to still look like a flat shape, okay? Just like in the exercise that we looked at yesterday on the video, where the artist had all those shapes drawn out and used just regular straight lines to add value to her shapes. They looked really, really flat. But when we angle our lines and then when we add some line variation, so some thicker lines and lighter areas of the line, that helps us begin to see the form. Please do this for your entire piece. Once you have your entire piece done, you will get a Sharpie. I'm going to rotate this. And you are going to very carefully Sharpie over every single line that you have made. Okay. So your contours are going to be traced and your cross contours. Areas where you might have darkened your lines along the darker values, you can still do that with a Sharpie or with a black pen. Just thicken up the line where the value is darkest. Okay. Once my Sharpie is completely dry, then I'm going to go back and very, very carefully erase all the pencil lines that I had originally put on my piece. Okay. If you have questions, you may comment on this video. You may ask me in class for help. Your entire transfer paper should demonstrate your knowledge of contour line and cross contour line to create form. Now, I would appreciate if before you even started sharpieing, you came to me to double check that your lines were in the right direction. You may partner up with somebody to double check this as well, but be sure that you study the values in every area, okay? You first want to pick the shape of value that you want to look at, and then you want to recognize the type of shape that it is and this type of angle that you may see, and that's going to describe what types of lines you should use. All right, go ahead and give it a try. At the end of your assignment here, please upload what you have done. You may put this either on the back of a white piece of paper, or you can put it on the back of a tan or yellow piece of paper in a way where it's easy to see.